All right, today we are going to show you how to make a new class, which ends up going to be a pretty simple and quick video. In the old days, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, is that you had to go ahead and make this class. A lot of times you'd have to make a header file as well, and then you'd have to link these guys. It was kind of a pain in the butt. But now in Visual Studio, it's pretty simple. In fact, this is as simple as it is. Ready? Here we go. Project, add class. That's it. It's going to take a second. Go ahead. There's a whole bunch of ones that you can do, but let's just go with a basic class so we understand it. Again, if all you're doing is functions, go ahead and just do that. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do, which are more advanced topics, but this one let you do anything, to be honest with you, because I can always change a class to something else or one of these other operations. And as you can see, it goes ahead and puts in a bunch of using. If you looked at the coin one, we had to load forms. And why do we have to load forms? Well, so we could do the message box show hi. That was it. So it's not going to default to those forms. It always defaults to forms in Form 1, and the reason being is because it can't operate as a form in those .NET libraries without that. So it wouldn't be able to call itself up. In this case, we're not doing anything interesting with it. One of the problems, though, that I made is actually that I just call it class 1. So here it is, the class 1. I probably should have renamed it something better. We can go ahead and change it over here if we want to. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to call it, we'll just call it example. How about that? And it's going to ask you, well, I have to update it here because when I rename it example, I have to call it in here example because that's it. You can't, the file and the name of the class have to be the same. Likewise, if you do that constructor, remember it's public example, and then remember, do not put a return statement in there. It is giving me a little bit of a problem just because I forgot my parentheses, but once I do that, I should be fine. Now, do I have to put anything in that constructor? Nah. But I can overload it. And so in other words, I could put something to the effect of just blank. And I am going to put this in here. But now it's not, it shouldn't like this, but it's letting me, oh, there it goes. It shouldn't like this, but I could do something to the effect of int x. And then say float x. And so now I have 3 examples, all the same name, and it might be like, well, why the heck would you do something like that? Well, think in terms of mathematics. So when we use math libraries, we can square things, right? We can put them to any power. But in the computer world, a float and an integer are different. A decimal and an integer are different. A double and an integer are different. All that stuff. But you want to be able to square any one of those, in float, decimal, double. We want to be able to square any of those. So we might actually have to create these overloaders, essentially, or these overloaded methods in order to handle them. And the same thing is true for a constructor. I might be in Form 1, and I might say something to the effect of example. And as you can see, I really should have capitalized this. That's pretty much the standard, is to make it a big E in this case. We'll call it my example equals new example. And let's put in hello there just to show that it's different now that we got the form in there. And in public actually the example with the integer, we can write in this message box, show x. How about that? Or x to string. That might be better. Thank gosh for autocorrection there. I never like to write that first T as a big T. Anyways, so let's go ahead and give this a try. Actually, no, you know what? I'm going to do one more thing. In my example, I am at first going to highlight out 1. So that means we are running the my example, which should go to our first constructor. So let's go ahead, hit toss 5 times. It says hello, and then it goes into it, right? It doesn't do any of the other constructors. Likewise, we could do the same thing here. Now, hopefully, it should show us 6. There you go. We have 6 there that shows up. So just like any method, you can overload a constructor. It kind of holds the the two pieces to it. Like I was saying before, with math, you might want to do something in integer. You might want to do something in double. You don't know what people want until they give it to you. The other thing that this does is it kind of allows for the default parameters. If you go back to thinking about passing default parameters around, like here, I could actually say something to the effect of int equals 6, right? Or actually, maybe let's give it something else. Let's call it something 10. So if somebody doesn't pass an integer in there, then we can just make it that way. And let me correct that because I forgot to put x. And all of a sudden, we have this allowed. So this gives us a whole wide range of things that we can do. I'm going to do a couple more videos on this, and we're going to go with it and see if we can expand on it.